Hi, I'm J. Christian Adams, president of the Public Interest Legal Foundation. This is the Protecting Your Vote podcast, something we do here. Talk about election law, litigation, and all the hot topics affecting how we vote and who wins. With me today is Public Interest Legal Foundation attorney Joe Nixon. Joe, this is your first time on Protecting the Vote, right?
I'm very glad to be here. Thank you, Christian.
Joe is an experienced litigator. You've been involved in a lot of cases, worked on the recent Galveston case in the Fifth Circuit, a whole bunch of other cases around the country. You do election law for a long time, right?
I've been doing this for a very long time, and on the right side of the fence.
So just when you thought you saw everything, and just when you thought that there really wasn't anything terribly wrong with the system of elections, we discovered, don't we, something strange and unusual in the state of Texas. And I'm just going to put it out there. If you vote in Texas, in a lot of cases, I can figure out who you voted for, can't I?
Absolutely, you can. It's a problem with the systemic method of how they choose to conduct their elections.
Now, I thought this was nutty the first time I heard it, didn't I?
Yes, you look, it's hard to believe that your ballot can be known by everybody.
And so some people can look up the ballot and have looked up how they voted include, let's just think, anyone ever look up how the governor of Texas voted?
We have a copy of the governor's ballot.
Did anybody ever look up the chairman of the Texas Republican Party?
Yes, Matt Rinaldi, that his ballot has been made public. That's kind of what put us on to this issue. His ballot was made public, and we went, how did this happen? And then we started doing some investigation. I talked to various county clerks who run elections, not just one, several. And then we talked to other people who have been engaged in audits of elections. They all confirmed the same thing. And what's surprising, elections are run in states by the Secretary of State, and Texas is the same way. Secretary of State. We have the Secretary of State's ballot. Hers is public as well. And so the process by which they conduct elections allows not just public citizens to determine how people voted, to look up their ballots, but the government, the counties, always know.
So people watching this might think, this is zany, this is wacky, this is not possible. Explain to me how this works. So it's kind of complicated, but let me start and then you can pick up.
Sure.
So there's two ways to do this. I call one as an analog way and one is a digital way. The digital way is related to the generation of the ballot. So if you go voting at a county voting center in Texas early, now that's the important part here.
It starts with the county voting centers.
Right, only county voting centers if you go to vote.
Not in your precinct.
In early voting.
Yeah.
When they go there, and a county voting center is like a centralized voting place that has a bunch of different precincts.
Electronic poll books.
Correct, and they have to generate your ballot.
Anybody in the county can vote at any of the voting centers.
Now, not every county in Texas has this.
No, but 97 of the 254 do.
And the defendant in our case is what?
Harris County.
Okay, Houston. So they have to generate a ballot by reaching through the internet to grab your records from the central database and then spit out a ballot that has your correct race for like dog catcher, state house, or school board, right?
That's right. So the first thing is let's say the county has early vote centers, and anybody who's registered in that county can vote at any vote center. So somebody on the way home from work, going to see their grandmother, going whatever can stop in at any vote center. When you do that, there is an electronic record made of your attending that vote center and going to vote.
To generate your ballot.
Well, it does two things. It sends a signal to every other vote center that you are at the Kirby Street polling center. When that happens, there's a record, of course, of you, Christian, voting at the Kirby Street voting center, and then the system has to create a ballot that's unique to you in your precinct. So if you live in precinct 12, and of course you have your state reps, your state senators, your congressmen, your district councilmen, the county commissioner, so it makes a ballot unique for you in your precinct. All of that's recorded and subject to open records because it has to be in order to be able to audit the election.
Because of Texas state law that makes it public.
Yes, Texas state law makes it public, but if it's not public, oddly enough, if it's not public, nobody knows for sure how many people from precinct 12 voted. So you have to be able to match the number of people from your precinct who voted, wherever they voted, and count and make sure that those votes are equal to the number of people that voted from your precinct.
So the other way you do this, it's like a word puzzle game where like you know that a certain person signed in to vote on this day and they generated a ballot for this tiny little precinct, like let's just say like the governor's mansion precinct, right? And only 2 people voted from the governor's mansion precinct, and you're then able to see when they signed in and basically figure out who they are and then look up how they voted.
Right. So there's a poll book showing that J. Christian Adams voted on Tuesday at 3:15 in the afternoon, and you're in precinct 12. And then you look at the ballots, and it'll have precinct 12 and the time of the vote.
Yeah.
And so it's too easy to do that. So just in that system alone, which you call analog, it is. I call it playing Sudoku with ballots. We can determine about 10% of all of the primary voters' ballots.
Okay, so what this ultimately means is in these places in Texas, your vote is not secret.
Not at all. I mean, we have some we mentioned the governor and the secretary of state, but we have judges and judges' spouses and prominent clergy and other civic leaders. We have all of their ballots, and you know, we have explained to the court who we have, but we've not released any of the ballots.
Nor would we.
That's exactly right. And so it's even surprising. So the county is defending the lawsuit. They have 6 lawyers. We believe that we have 2 of the 6 lawyers' ballots, which is, you know, shocking. The county goes, no, this is not a problem. Yeah, well, we have the lawyers' ballots.
Yeah.
It's this whole problem. I mean, so it starts with the fundamental issue. Do you have a United States constitutional right under the First and 14th Amendments to a secret ballot?
Well, I think most Americans would be surprised to learn that Harris County is saying you don't.
You don't?
You don't have a right to a secret ballot. So if a legislature made you vote publicly, like stand in the town square like you did 150 years ago, and announce your ballot, I guess Harris would be okay with that because they say there's no constitutional right.
Shockingly. Harris County takes a position that your ballot, being able to audit the election is more important than your vote privacy. And they wrote that. They wrote it in a pleading and filed it with the court. So according to Harris County, they could put up a digital list of everyone's vote and put it on the internet and let you look at it, how everybody voted, and they'd be okay with that.
So tell the viewers and listeners, why do we have a secret ballot in America? Because, we didn't always used to have a secret ballot, did we? A long time ago, voting was a very different experience.
Can you imagine going to a polling place and it was full of thugs and people handing out money and people drinking and smoking, and when they asked you how you voted, you had to verbally state your vote, in which case you were subject to all kinds of intimidation, ridicule. You can imagine what the scene was like. Christian, you have in your office a very famous painting called Election Day that has the scene put out. Guys wearing bandages, guys drunk.
Bandages because why?
Because
they got beat in the head.
They got hit in the head. I mean, this is a well-documented problem. So Australia in the 1850s came up with a concept of let's have a secret ballot. And it got adopted in America in the 1880s. And we have used that secret ballot ever since, and it's so important, it's become ingrained now in our fabric but the reason it's ingrained is we believe the First Amendment has always possessed the right of political privacy. You have a right to speak or not speak. You have a right to listen or not listen. You have a right to participate politically or abstain. But you have a right to be private in your own political views. When we adopted the secret ballot, that just folded very nicely under the right of political privacy in the First Amendment.
So if you're not from Texas, you're thinking, well, this doesn't really affect me, does it? But in fact, doesn't it, Joe? there's a lot of other states that use exact same system.
We think that there are at least 17 or 18 other states that have the exact same problem.
So this is protecting your vote, and folks, we're protecting your vote in a way that nobody has before, and that's protecting your vote to be secret. I'm Christian Adams, on with Joe Nixon from the Public Interest Legal Foundation. If you'd like to learn more about the Texas voting secret ballot case, what's the name of the case?
It's Zimmern versus Hidalgo.
Zimmern versus Hidalgo. Then go to publicinterestlegal.org, publicinterestlegal.org. We're going to be updating you in the future. Keep coming back. We'll have more on the Texas secret ballot case. Where else might be subject to a lawsuit to defend the right to political privacy? I'm J. Christian Adams. Thank you so much for tuning in.